of the house of the Director General of Shanning, the shipyards. During most of our time in the 60s, his name was Pavillon. And I think it was designed by Tennessee Williams. Coming up also on your right was the former CIM, later AIMM hostel. There's now an art gallery, I think there still is. And if you have time to want to do some shopping, that would be a good place to go. Sale houses, Shanning's staff was reduced after independence, and a lot of the teachers and several of the elementary school classes were held in these buildings. If you look at the 64, 65 annuals, they're actually photographs of the buildings. Up ahead on your left is a baobab tree. Throughout Kinshasa, where you find baobab trees, it was likely that there was a traditional settlement that dates back before the colonial era. This one is fairly young tree, but they used to be all along the edge of the river. The next compound was John Geddard and also the Newfelds. They were the head of Mennonite Central Committee. In 1961, there were also teachers who lived on this side, and some of us broke into Dorothy Hewlett's house because she was one of our 5th and 6th grade teachers. That was not our favorite.
I thought Walter Reedy also lived in this house.
Yeah, I think you're right. Walter Reedy lived there.
Let me tell you.
Now we're turning on to Avenue Monchipa. In the early years of Leopoldville and Kinshasa, this was the road that connected the two communities. The railroad only ran out to Kitambo every other day. So if you wanted to go into Kinshasa to visit someone, you would take this about 7-kilometer hike. Avenue Monchipa is widened to 4 lanes. And so all of the trees that a lot of us remember have been cut down and making way for the wider road. On your right and left now, as we go into town, are additional industrial installations of Shanning and Shanning Metal. Shanning got into other lines of work, such as being the Caterpillar dealership, the Schindler elevator dealership, Motorola radios, and most of that work was housed in this area on both sides of the road. Now we're about to cross a bridge over the Makenere River. In 1963, there were really high waters and flooding in Kinshasa, and this bridge washed away. I'm sorry, 1961. At the time, it was rebuilt. It was rebuilt by the United Nations, and they dedicated it to Don Cumbershaw, who died in a plane crash in 1961. He was the Secretary General of the UN. Traditionally, Congolese Muslims come from Eastern Congo, Maniema district in particular, and so the Muslims that lived in Kinshasa were primarily either Lebanese, South Asian, or who else were in it? Anyway, this particular mosque serves the Lebanese community. Now on our left and to a lesser extent on our right is Africa, or it used to be. In 1927, the first pencil mill was built here in Kinshasa. The company built it at the street so that they would have a supply. The company built the first kind of electric band in Sanga on the East River. And there was a huge textile mill here. Ricky tells me that recently Chinese bought the plant, shut it down, so they wouldn't have any competition, and the building is now the office of a phone company. Okay, now we've reached... I know, I love it. Now we're coming up to the end of the boulevard. This, Agosha, this used to be a large rond-point roundabout called Kalina. Kalina was an officer in Stanley's team, and I'm going to make it up, 1891 or thereabouts, maybe earlier, he tried to go by canoe from Leopoldville to Kinshasa. And when he got near the Palais de Peuple, there's a point on this that extends out into the river. It creates quite a serious current, and the canoe overturned. Kalina got drowned, and he was the first European to die in Kinshasa after the founding of Leopoldville. Pouvez vous arrêter ici, s'il vous plaît? Now, wait. The construction fence was Petit Pont, Auberge Petit Pont. It was a restaurant that was founded in the 1940s, very popular. On the grounds, and this was fairly common in Congo because of the climate, there was an open-air cinema. And you could come and have drinks and watch a movie. And this is Avenue Uganda that goes up to your left. Before the construction, you could actually see the brick wall that was the screen of the movie theater. In 1962, an Italian named Nicola took over the auberge, and it became Chez Nicolas, but all of us continue to call it Petit Pont. The name Petit Pont for this area comes from the Gombe River that we just crossed back there, and there was a small bridge. This was the road from Kinshasa to Leopoldville. Boulevard is where the railway line ran until 1932 or thereabouts, when it was relocated about a kilometer south. That's why the land in Los Angeles Boulevard is available, because it was the right of way for the railway. So when you would go from Leopoldville to Kinshasa, you would come this way and into town. There was nothing really here to house all of the functions of the government. So the decision was made to build between the two cities, Kalina, and it took about 5 years to build out all of the office buildings and so on that would be for the central government. There was a very interesting land use plan. There's a series of radial streets that come in from the river. They are gauche, they have a unique and so there were government buildings and housing for the civil servants that were put in this part of town. King Albert and Queen Elizabeth visited the colony in 1928. Queen Elizabeth was very concerned about the quality of health care that she found in Galiema, and so a decision was made to build a proper hospital for Europeans here in the city. It was named for her, Clinique Elizabeth. It's a superb Art Deco building, and we'll come up on it in a little bit. Before independence, there was a second hospital for Europeans built. I don't think you'll be able to see it. but it's also it was completed just before independence, and afterwards the Danish Red Cross operated the hospital on behalf of the United Nations. So it was to serve the United Nations force, but other so that's it here. Across Western and Central African ferry to North Africa for the fighting against the Germans. And there was a decision made to bring a hospital here to Libreville to serve the army, basically. And the hospital was based here within they put concept huts or prefabs of some sort on the grounds. The hospital was here for about a year and a half, and then the situation changed in North Africa, and the Central African air link was less important, and so they were airlifted to Morocco.
Intercontinental.
Now we're Chachi. This will give you a certain feel for what the administrative district of the colonial capital looked like. This was Avenue Leopold, the King of the Belgians.
Unbelievable. Wow, wow, wow.
Sad.
Wow, so sad. Who do it? Who do it?
There are old trees too.
Look, how many years?
Here on the right, the house with the turret was Zachary.
You know how many years?
Oh yeah.
This is it's further in town. It's a little bit further. So now we're coming back to this is the road that connected to Libreville.
That's where we got married right there.
Now where you got married?
Yeah, that's where I got married, yeah.
Then in 1971, all of the monuments in the city were taken up. And this monument, which is titled La Pleureuse, I think is much more fitting as a memorial to conflict. I don't think the sculptor is Yolo, but it's one of those sculptors from the 1970s. Having a ventilated space underneath the building.
So. Yeah.
I know about that one.
You live there? You live there, Moshe?
So this building on your left is the Forest Stone building. It was Kinshasa's first skyscraper built in 1956. It has a ground floor of commercial space, 7th floors of office and apartments, and Moshe lived on the 7th floor.
6. No, we got 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah,
All the everything.
embassy was here, and there was staff apartments, and then the top 2 floors had...
איזה קומה אתה גרת?
שישית. עכשיו תראה מה אתה יכול לעגול שמה.
1, 2, 3.
כן.
עכשיו משם למעקה, הגנב קפץ.
But originally, it was Avenue Colony Detail, because in the early 20th century, they decided to build an army camp here, and the lieutenant who did the building dynamited all of the baobab trees that grow along here to clear space for the camp.
Like last year, I went to
Get out of jail free card.
He just got his food.